Hello everyone. Welcome to the Research Data Management course run by NHR Global Health Research Center for Non-Communicable Diseases and Environmental Change. My name is Bijini Bahuleyan and I'm working as a data manager at the George Institute for Global Health. In today's video training session, I'll be discussing about personal identifying information and sensitive data, discuss about the data security, prevention of data loss, and also how to protect the data privacy. What is data? Data is any information. Data could be anything. It could be related to the research participants, it could be related to environmental studies, or it could be anything about the processes and procedures involved in the healthcare of the participants. This data may or may not contain personal identifying information. We are more concerned about the data from the research participants as this may contain personal identifying information. Data from research studies is extremely sensitive information, so participant security and privacy must be protected using strict protocols. Best practices for managing data privacy and security must be put in place due to the growing amount of study data being collected. We will look at few recommended practices that can be used to guarantee the privacy and security of study data. Qualitative data and quantitative data are different formats of data that is being collected for the research studies. Qualitative data is more of a descriptive type of data which cannot be counted or measured. It is mostly based on interviews. Example of qualitative data is health opinions. Quantitative data is more numeric. It can be counted and measured, for example, height, weight, or body mass index. Now, this session on data security is meant for both types of data. Before we move to data security, we will understand what is personal identifying information and sensitive data. Personal identifying information is any data item or any variable or a combination of multiple variables that can be used to identify an individual project participant. For example, first name, last name, age, gender, date of birth, address, or sometimes we do collect GPS coordinates. All these information, all these variables are called as personal identifying information with which we can identify to which participant this data belongs to. Sensitive data is a subset of personal identifying information, but that needs an extra level of handling and protection. For example, a participant's religious beliefs or a participant's political opinion or social security numbers or social security card. All this information is sensitive data which requires an extra level of handling and protection. Even if PII is collected or not collected, data security is crucial as there involves a lot of time and money being invested in collecting this data. The slide that you're seeing now explains the anonymization of personal identifying information. In the first row, the personal identifying information is linked with a unique participant ID, and this is called as coding. Now that is a coded data set. In the second row, the personal identifying information is delinked with the unique participant ID. But if you want to relink and trace back to the participant, that is possible where you're storing the personal identifying information in a different location. In the third row, the personal identifying information is anonymized and it is only the unique participant ID that is linked with the dataset. Now this process is called as anonymization and this process cannot be reversed to re-identify the individuals. This is a simple flowchart that explains different modes of data collection. There are two modes of data collection. One is paper-based data collection, the other is EDC-based. EDC is electronic data capture. When you're collecting data on paper CRFs or paper, the physical security of original data sources, example the case report forms or any other original data documents, should be warehoused in secured rooms or file cabinets with controlled accesses. If you're collecting data on EDC, there are two ways of collecting the data. One is online and the other is offline. When you're collecting data online, either on mobile devices or on tablets or through web browsers, the data is directly saved on the server. But if you're collecting data in an offline mode, the data is there on the local devices. A copy is saved on the local device, and this data has to be synchronized with the server with a proper internet connection. The process is called as data synchronization, and the data is saved on server or cloud. Servers are also of two types. One is physical server and also cloud, where it's a remote server. In TGI, we have a physical and cloud servers. Understand what type of system is used at your organization, and maybe you can contact the DM. DM should be aware of these servers. This database server also should be physically secured, and appropriate procedures should exist to regulate access to them. Data encryption is a method of preserving data confidentiality by transforming the data into different codes. Is used to safeguard the data from unauthorized accesses. Study data should be protected not only during the collection but also during transmission and also storage. To address data security, there should be prior planning of estimated storage of space required, and the details of how long you are going to keep the paper records. Assess the level of risk and have a mitigation plan in place. For example, understand if the storage area is prone to floods or not. If yes, one solution is to have is to pack the paper in polythene covers. In case of fire, fire precaution should be in place, like having the fire extinguishers in place, putting no combustible things near paper. If this area is prone to pests, pests should be controlled by repellents. And to prevent theft, restricted access to the area should be given only to the designated people. Natural disasters are not controllable though. In To prevent breach to data privacy, list out all the possible personal identifying information in the study. Collect the personal identifying information only if required. Like, do not collect all the personal identifying information if your project is a longitudinal study, and if you're having or if you're planning any follow-ups, if you want to trace back to the participant, please collect the information only that is required, and do not enter this personal identifying information in the same database as you're collecting the data. This personal identifying information should be separated from the actual data of the participants. And in case of paper, if you're collecting personal identifying information on a paper, conceal the personal identifying information by a marker on the source data. But before that, you will have to scan the paper and save an electronic version in a password protected files. If you conceal the marker before scanning the paper, tracing back to the participant may be difficult. All the data files should be password protected and should be saved in drives set up by IT and controlled by the IT permissions. The IT permissions will be decided by the project manager. If you are collecting any personal identifying information and sensitive data as part of your study, take advantage of the techniques like data masking and anonymization to de-identify the sensitive information. Here is an example of masking. Consider this as a paper CRA where you have collected the data, and there is some personal identifying information that is collected. Now conceal it with a marker. PI should be masked for protecting the participant's privacy and confidentiality. But before concealing this with a marker, please save a scanned copy of this into the drives provided by the IT department of your organization. For longitudinal studies, it is recommended to scan the paper and save electronic version in the password protected files. The collection, processing, storage, and destruction of PII must ensure protection of the confidentiality of project participants at all times and ensure that the PII data is only used for the purpose for which it was consented. As seen in the previous slides, do not enter the PII information into the electronic database as with the rest of the database, and keep identifiers in separate tables. Also, using the hash key value for the identifier is a process of anonymization. If you are entering PII in the database, then ensure that it is delinked with the rest of the data before you share. Setting a password for the data file or data table is always recommended, and anonymize the identifiers using the hash key. Do not export variables which are marked as identifiers. Drop the columns that are marked as identifiers before sharing. At TGI, we widely use REDCap for collecting the data. In REDCap, there is a provision of marking an variable as identifier while developing a database. When I develop a database, if I see a variable which is the identifying information of a participant, then I mark it as an identifier. And when I'm extracting the data, I can drop all the identifiers at one go and extract the data. So this is a recommended practice. Mark all the identifiers in your study, and when you're developing the database, a database programmer will mark those variables as identifiers. This is a screenshot from REDCap. When you're extracting the data, REDCap provides us with de-identification options. You can use these options below the checkboxes. Apply as per your requirement, which will help you remove the identifiers before you share the data or extract the data. User access controls should be put in place to make sure that only people with proper authorization can access the data. This is a screenshot from REDCap, and this is how user accesses are given in the backend. Every role has certain accesses and privileges, and this is defined by the project manager. Based on your role in the project and based on the accesses and privileges given to that role, you will see the data in the database. Similarly, for extracting the data, only certain designated people will be given access to extract the data. To prevent data loss while using electronic databases, be it online or offline, devices that you are using for data collection should be password protected and should be stored in secure locations when you are not using it. The local copy on the mobile devices in case of offline data collection should be deleted after online database synchronization. By any chance, if you are not able to synchronize the data with the server, please do not delete the local copy, because once the data is lost, that is lost completely and you will not get back that data. So make sure that the data is properly synchronized and is available on the server. Check it online and then delete the local copy of the data on the mobile devices. If your device is lost, please inform the IT at the earliest possible and also inform the data manager so that your offline device is delinked with the server. Avoid connecting to unsecure public networks using device used for data collection. You might be traveling with a device that you are using for data collection, and if you're seeing any public Wi-Fi networks, please do not connect to those networks. Summarizing today's session, personal identifiers should be collected only if required. Health data is considered as sensitive information. Measures to protect data privacy should be done at the planning stage and implemented during the collection, storage, and transmission of data. Follow your institutional policies to prevent data loss during these phases. Thank you everyone for this opportunity, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.